Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful bedside table on a budget. The first thing you're going to do is cut up your pieces. If you check out my blog, I have a cut list available for you there. Once you have all the pieces cut, you're going to then sand everything down smooth. Next, we're going to assemble the outer box. To do so, we're going to use this Craig pocket hole jig to make some pocket holes on the side pieces. We're going to make 3 pocket holes on each side of the 2 pieces. First, we're going to attach the side pieces to the bottom piece. We're going to add some glue first and then place them where we want them to be, and then we're going to screw them down. It's important to note where the pocket holes are. So for the bottom of the cabinet, the pocket holes attaching the side pieces should be facing inward, and for the top of the cabinet, the pocket holes will be facing the outside. Now, this is because the legs that we will be attaching later on will be covering those pocket holes on the outside. Now once we have the box all built, we're going to use some edge banding to cover up the exposed plywood. With edge banding, all you need to do is iron it on and use a cutting tool to cut off the excess. I bought this special tool, but you could also just use a regular razor blade. Now for the legs. To save a little bit of money, I ended up using 2x6s. Here I'm just cutting off a 1/4 inch on both sides to give a really straight edge, and then I'm going to strip them down to 1.5 inch pieces. Once we have our pieces all cut out, we're going to add some pocket holes in order to attach them together. When attaching our legs together, we're going to make sure that the pocket holes for the top piece are facing outward. This way, this side will be screwed into the box of the frame and the pocket holes will not be visible. For the bottom piece, we're going to make sure that the pocket holes are facing downward. This will be facing the floor, and again, these pocket holes will not be visible. Now for the drawers. Here, I'm just cutting out the pieces that will make the box for the drawers. save a little bit more money, I decided to do DIY drawer pulls instead of buying them store-bought. So I'm using these 1-inch strips of plywood to mark out the center. Here, once I have the center marked out, I'm then going to use my table saw to notch out this area. I'm going to lower my table saw blade to about 1/2 inch, which is the thickness of the rail that's going to be going through these pieces. Once I have that set, I'm going to run these side panels through the table saw until I have that entire section notched out. Now all that's left is to attach these 4 pieces and then sand everything down, make sure it's nice and smooth, get rid of all the splinters. And then finally, we're going to add the bottom piece of plywood. Now I've used glue and I also used nails. Now to install the DIY drawer rails. I'm going to use some extra pieces of wood that I have laying around as spacers to make sure that those rails sit at exactly the same spot on both sides. Once I have my positioning figured out, I'm then going to screw these into place. When attaching this rail, you want to make sure that it sits flush with the back, leaving 3/4 of an inch in the front area for the drawer front to fit perfectly. Once the rails are attached, I'm going to be finishing off the outer box with a piece of plywood on the back. As you can see, I'm using some glue, and then I'll be using some nails to secure that piece in place. And here is how the rail system works. The pieces that we've screwed in on the outer box will ride the notched out area in the inner box. Now back to the legs. Once we have them primed and painted, we're going to put in some pilot holes where we're going to attach them to the outer box. We're also going to countersink these holes so that the screws sit flush into the wood so that we can add some spackle and cover those up for later. Now that we have our legs attached, we can start working on the door fronts. So here I've measured and cut out exactly the size that I need, and I'm going to use some playing cards to space it out perfectly. Once you're happy with the spacing, we're going to drill right through where our handles will be in order to make the holes into the drawer box, and then we're going to just attach the handles, which will also hold the door front. This will also need some additional screws on the inside to make sure that the door front sits properly. And And that's how you make these beautiful bedside tables on a budget. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon for another DIY project.